Zinduko.
Fantastic.
Aye.
Yeah. Tunafika. Destination.
Yeah, at least the speakers can be heard, eh?
Hey, at least somebody has heard.
Yeah.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Friday.
It's Friday. It's Saturday, Sunday. What is this thing?
It's a Friday day. Saturday, Sunday. That one, yeah.
Yeah, we never know the words to some things, but we sing
like
them anyway.
YMCA. Everything else that follows up on that is
don't
irrelevant.
Yes, so everybody, good morning. Getting into it, I love your T-shirt, man.
Thank you.
Anything Africa for me.
Mama Africa.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. It seems
Brazilians loved it too.
I'm sure they did.
They did. Katerina.
The Brazilians called Catarina.
Loved it.
All the Brazilians called Catarina. Tunakuona, darling. Don't worry, it's okay. We are in understanding.
Yeah. Ukwaje?
Mimi niko salama. Yep, I'm doing all right.
Nice.
Getting into it. It's the 5th of December.
Imagine.
And just like that, December is about to be over. I'm just saying. Yeah, that the days are going fast. Yep.
Yeah, and you're counting 21 days now? No, actually, it's 20.
It's 20 days till Christmas Day, the day that Isaseto was born.
20
days, yeah.
I want to spend this Christmas with my mother.
You want to see your mother for Christmas?
At home.
Okay.
In Migori County.
You know what?
Not wearing shoes, just stepping on earth like that.
Okay. You know what you can do to make that happen? You need to go to Sarit Center.
Yes.
Between now and then, you need to go to Sarit Center and you need to have a word with Santa and Mrs. Claus. Amma, what do they call them? Mr. and Mrs. Santa.
Mr. and Mrs. Santa or Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Yes, then you read a letter to Santa, make your wish, they'll make it happen.
I know.
Yeah.
They always make it happen.
They'll make it happen.
Yeah.
That's happening at Sarit Center. You can see all the Christmas characters, all of these guys in their bright regalia. Have a word with them. Listen to carols. Wednesday and Friday, there's Masai Market, so you can buy all these wonderful trinkets. You can even buy something for mom. As your wish is being made come true at Sarit Center, then you can now go and see mom for Christmas. I'm telling you, these things are just pangwad
proper. Everything is just lying where they belong.
Exactly. So do it at Sarit, your city. So anybody else want to make a wish for Christmas, you then have a chance to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Santa. You can see Rudolph, you can see the elves and all these wonderful people, Christmas characters, and have fun listening to carols and, on the spot prize winnings. You can do that at Sarit, your city this Christmas.
If
Dennis
you don't
is going to be
show
there.
up, you automatically become Grinch. So
you become the Grinch, who,
yes.
by their way, will also be there.
Will also be there.
Exactly.
To just have conversations on how to make this Christmas work.
Exactly. So be like Dennis and head on over to Sarit. Make your wish come true this Christmas. It's 17 minutes past 6 o'clock, and we're getting into it this morning. We have a show lined up for you. We're going to have conversations around certain things. We're going to start with the tail end of it. Sometimes we sit here and we have conversations with ourselves and, those who come to analyze things for us, those who come and give their position. And then we say, you know what? The people that we speak with, those who are silent sometimes and want to give an opinion about these things that we discuss, they don't get a chance to do that a lot. And it's important that we're all engaged in discourse. So what we're going to do today from 9 o'clock is have a conversation with all of you. And we're going to tie two things in. Number one, we've talked about the IEBC and free and fair elections, over what happened over the last week and what is going to happen in the next year. So what we're going to do is have a conversation with you guys. Tell us what it is that you really do think about how these things have been conducted and what your hopes are for how they will be conducted in the future. That's the conversation that we will have at 9 o'clock today. We'll also combine that in part with what's on the headline of the Standard, which I'll let you know in a minute. But there are conversations to be had, my friends. So we'll do that with you at 9 today. And then if we backtrack just a little bit, at 8 o'clock, we will be talking with Mulay Masao and Hussein Khalid. Mulay is the coordinator of ELOG. He's a national coordinator. ELOG, we know, is the Elections Observer Group. Hussein Khalid is the CEO of Vocal Africa. We know that Vocal Africa has now sued the IEBC beyond the ballot, rebuilding integrity in Kenya's elections. And both of these, an observer mission as well as a community-led people-centered group is having a conversation, and we're going to look into that a little bit. And then at 7 o'clock, Dr. Manel Haj is a medical oncologist. Faith Musoga is a clinical trial patient. We're going to be talking about trusting the trial, how treatments are actually proven. You know, many times when you hear about trials on certain things and you're wondering, who are these? Faith is one of them.
Yes.
And we'll be looking at that today. It's important. It's a Healthy Friday conversation that we'll have at 7 o'clock, and we'll do that together. Sawa sawa. That's what the show looks like today, and we're going to get into it. Thanks for already joining us. If you're in the room, you know that our live streams are up on Facebook, YouTube, and on X, and our audiences on KTN are here. Good morning to those who tune up that dial while you're getting to work this morning or sitting and watching as we engage in conversations. Asante Sana for doing that, and let's get this party started. We'll do that with a proverb from where today?
Yes. The proverb today comes from the land that is Kenya.
Is that not a song like the land is Kenya? Something. Okay.
Yes, that one.
Okay.
And you're talking about leopards. You see, a
Oh.
leopard cannot change its spots. A leopard cannot change its spots. That's the proverb.
It's true. You are who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You are who you are.
You see, when EACC says there is a doubt, it is not clean. No.
They know what they're saying.
They know what they're saying. And that trait, don't expect to change. You can't do the same thing the same way and expect to see a change.
Different results. I read something somewhere, or did I watch a David Attenborough series, one of the many series that he's done, and I'm just checking on that really quickly. I'll tell you what it is so that I know if I'm telling the truth or not. Oh, by the way, did you know that you can find black leopards in Laikipia?
Yeah.
And so I asked.
I hear it's such a phenomenon. The locals say, what you mean?
Yeah.
We see these things
Every day. Yeah, so I actually want to see those and see what that, if I can prove this point, then it will make my interpretation of this proverb make some sense. So let me just tell you if it's true or not, blah, 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 and just to make sure that I am not lying. Yeah, so leopards are born with spots. When they come out, they are born with spots.
Yes.
That's how they are. So you would think that maybe they developed them along the way and that they were different later, and then it's at some point they can change. No. They're born with spots.
Yes.
So you can't change it. As they come out, that is how they are. So as you meet them every now and then, you'll be able to say, okay, that's a leopard because that's the characteristic of it that we can see. It's not going to change.
It will not.
So when people are telling you something,
Listen.
Abby,
Just listen.
thanks.
Yeah. Interrogate. And ask yourself, what's this different thing you'll do if this is who you have been all through? We've seen your sports.
So this is interesting also because some other information has just come up, because this might be interesting. And then, the thing is that your mind can have two thoughts once. At the very point that they are born, leopards are not born with spots. They don't have them. They develop them later. But once they are developed, they don't go away. They get their spots a few weeks later. The spots, called rosettes, gradually emerge and darken as the cubs grow older. That was interesting. I thought that they were born with them. But it also buffers the point that once they set in, they don't go away.
So that means the moment Mama Leopard delivers,
Yes.
you're guaranteed the spots
They will
show.
come. Yes, exactly. Same thing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
I could use that proverb whichever way you want.
Whichever,
It's up to you.
it's up to you.
Yeah.
I can see our eyes are gleaming. All right. People are tuned into the room this morning. Thank you for always doing that. And we say a big hello to EVE. I don't know where they are. EVE, in the meantime, I don't know where the other of these ones are. Maybe we can see if they've already come. Sawa. All right. So that was an interesting interpretation of that proverb, whichever way you choose to look at it. And, so as you're tuning into the room this morning, a very good morning to you, and thanks for doing this. Team Spies, hoye! Hiya. Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This one here say, oh, hi. Is that what you're saying? Hi, I thought it was spelled H-I, but what do I know? Desmond, good morning. Joseph Okondo is tuning this morning and says, good morning from Tuda in Mombasa. Christopher Ogore is also tuning this morning and says, good morning from Maseno. Good morning to you. Tuning from Mombasa is Robert Mbogo. Don Sabo is here. Ndu Askaseto. With the toll fee roads, with the toll fee roads, housing levy, VAT, fuel levy, cess, warma, do you have to pay for a road even after paying fuel levy? Singaporeans? Do you, so that's the question.
You have to, because it's a policy. And once it's been said, you just have to pay for it. Question is, does it make sense, and how affordable is it for Monanchi?
Yeah.
Those are the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Don. Rahim Sula Omar says, good morning from Preston in the UK. Why is the government privatizing all state corporation? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Hello, Princess Ndu, good morning. And Aseto says, Leo, can Dindi Nyoro be invited? Yes, he can be invited. He's doing interesting mathematics that I've always suspected on matters sale of state assets and shares. They are undervalued. Well, yeah, he's saying some interesting things.
Yeah.
He can be invited. Whether he will come is totally a different story.
It's another thing, yeah.
Exactly.
But he's invited.
He's invited.
Yeah. Dindi Nyoro, if you're listening, you've been invited. Kenyans want to hear you. Karibu.
That's it. We've done it. Baby Talker, okay. Good morning, fam. Thank God it's Friday. Hope today brings a lot of good news. Amen. Me too. I'm ready for some good news.
Yeah.
Sindio, and we can speak these things into existence. Hisa Daniel says, good morning. Good morning, Spice. Aseto specifically, it really hurt me seeing African leaders flying outside their country just to sign a peace deal, yet we have our AU.
That really troubled me as well.
Yeah.
You know?
You had to go. I've said it from day one. I'm not even sorry. That the AU is great. Sit there, built by somebody else.
Yeah.
But then when you need something critical to happen, are you going to the AU? No, you're not.
No.
When something terrible is happening in the country, are you going to the AU? No. When Sudan is blowing up, when things are happening between Congo and Rwanda, when there is where have you heard the voice of the AU?
Nowhere.
Come on. No, okay. Well, we could get into it this morning, but okay. Jimmy Manoli says, good morning, have a nice weekend. George Obuya is tuned in this morning. Also, Eric Orr says, good morning, guys. Good morning to you. Brian, you say you've come for the health conversation. Well, welcome. Thank you. Mashari Anjero is tuned in this morning and says, watching from Portland. It's a pity to watch some guests on the show trying to defend the indefendable just for political survival. Interesting, innit? Kento, we see you. Good morning. She says, Aseto, welcome back. That means you've been away for a while.
Kento, welcome back.
Yeah, you are the one you should be welcoming back. For real. Rahim Sula, I love my African continent. Fantastic. Good morning, Spice. Emily Kip Kilach says, good morning. Rahim Sula says, I should sing the 12 days of Christmas. We shall start on the 12th.
Yeah.
We start on the 12th, Sawa, and it takes us to the 24th. Cyrus Yegon says, good morning, it's Friday. Aseto, did you get that T-shirt from City Market? No. There's your answer. You want to know where you can just ask him. Don't go through the corners. Just ask him. Aseto, where can I get
I have a plug.
Bus.
I have my guy.
The guy. Cher says, how is everybody doing? We're doing all right. Rose Gray says, good morning, Ndo Aseto. You two are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much,
Sana.
sister. Linda Agola says, good morning. It's Friday. Kwani Santa got a wife. Imagine Santa got married. I don't know who his best man was or who Mrs. Santa's bridesmaids were, but Santa got a wife, apparently, and she's at Sarit.
The elves.
Yeah. Oh, the elves were those guys,
Yeah.
the best maids, men.
Can you imagine how the elf was giving out the rings?
By the way, you guys know that Dennis Aseto is double jointed in both shoulders. It's very rare, by the way, for that to happen. This guy, there's a phenomenon sitting in the room. I'm shouting. Dennis Aseto is double jointed in both shoulders. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
One day we'll get him to do that.
One day we'll get to do that, yeah.
All right. Santa has elves. Yes, he does. Okay, you guys, sasa mtu fulani Santa wasarit amewahi onja mtura. You know what you can do? There are Christmas streets. Now when you go to Sarit Center, enda na mtura onde kama Santa ataonja.
It's called the African sausage.
There you go.
Tusonge tu ndugu tafadhali.
Okay. Mwaka is tuning from Dar es Salaam. Rosalind Kamal says, good morning, beautiful people. Good morning. Can somebody explain why Americans are interested in our health data? Edwin, look, we can start and we won't finish today, my brother. But some things are quite plain and obvious. Kiarie says, good morning. Every big tree was once a seed. Never despise your days of small beginnings. Kabisa.
True.
Simon Kibiru says, it's Friday, tuning from Mombasa. Nice weekend as you continue with Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you so much. From Hungary, and all you say is true, my dear. Cindy, Jeffrey, good morning. Linda is asking, see Mimi, I'm just reading what Linda said. Amma, you got the t-shirt from that Brazilian lady?
Brazilian
Katarina.
lady gave me a sauce.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
Wangi Juma says, good morning, Spice. FM, how are you guys this blessed Friday? We are fine, Kabisa. As you can tell, things there are thinking. Good morning, everybody. Karibu Sana. And as you keep streaming into the room today, thank you for doing that. As we get into the conversations, Karibuni. Why are my things all over the place? Okay, let's look into the headlines. On the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. Ruto betrayed you. Again, see what we mean, Miss Emma, it's on the headline. The church has unleashed one of its most blistering attacks yet on President William Ruto's administration, accusing it of crushing the poor, betraying the youth, and dragging the nation into a deepening crisis. In a searing statement, clerics warned that the country is a devastated nation teetering on the edge with corruption, election manipulation, and economic despair, fueling public anger like a ticking time bomb. Ooh-wee. Yes, we know that there was a presser yesterday. They've raised a number of issues. The collapse of governance. The church accuses the executive and parliament of failed leadership, corruption, passing unjust laws, eroding democracy, and enabling election malpractice. That's just one. Another one, economic hardship. Clerics highlight soaring poverty, unbearable cost of living, company closure, mass unemployment, shrinking purchasing power, and the collapse of small businesses. Again, that's just one issue. Failure of services. They cite a broken education system, starved of capitation funds, a failing tertiary sector, and an opaque, corruption-ridden social health authority. In that picture, NCCK chairman, the Reverend Elias Otieno Agola, addressed the press on a survey they conducted in Kenyans and the government in Limuru yesterday. And they said, this is what we found, and you have to do better. Elias Otieno, and I quote, says, the state of despair and frustration which is driven by injustice is not sustainable. If the people of Kenya do not arise and rescue the nation, even the constitutional bonds that bind the nation together shall fall apart. They're not mincing their words.
But you know what will happen this weekend? We will see some statements being made from the pulpits.
A pulpit is about to receive 20 million. Ooh.
Just saying. Okay.
Wow. Ruto Inc.'s health deal amid fears Kenya will give up key patient data. $1.6 billion is already making its way to Kenya. But what does that mean? That health data from many a Kenyan will then be made public. And my head is already swirling in terms of how this is going to work exactly. Yikes. It doesn't sound pretty, but this is a story that we'll look into when we come to it. MPs want DNA used to trace UK soldiers with Kenyan children, which I think you should do if what you're looking for is support. There are many, I'm telling you. There are quite a many.
These guys actually listen to this show because that's just a suggestion we made on this show.
Absolutely. We said it yesterday. Yeah. We did. We said it yesterday that they actually need to. All right.
You see that picture there of PCS, the president, and Marco Rubio?
Yeah.
Lest we forget that this maybe would have been a photo that would have been taken in Kenya, but that journey to Kenya was cancelled. Lest we forget, Marco Rubio was supposed to be in the country.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen, is it?
Nope.
Okay. Kenyan police police in Haiti search for Kabiru's body. He said that he's passed away. They can't seem to find him. And while we're on the police, half of Kenyans feel unsafe despite 2 decades of community policing. They still feel unsafe. Okay. All right. So looking at some other headlines here in the Standard.
So if you are a driver in Nairobi, brace for higher parking fees because it will increase to 520 shillings.
Yeah.
Yes.
From 300 shillings to 520 because, the city council is saying, we need to rein in on some of these things. I don't know. Broken system, why governors keep surviving impeachments. County assemblies flagged for ouster drama, that all they do is just try to rack up this thing and then you don't get your information right. So, of course, this is some more stories carried on page 6 and 7 into the NCCK and other cleric reports. Ruto's name struck out from case seeking his removal from office. My goodness, he's all over the paper today. Peter Kimani is a columnist. He's written here on the Seriously Speaking about a narrow escape, a black Christmas, and merits of finally getting grounded. Who owns Kenya? A report shows 2% control over half of arable land in Kenya. 2% of Kenyans own 50% of the arable land in Kenya.
Wait.
It's not funny.
2%.
That's what we're looking at, some of the headlines in the Standard. Do you want to look at something?
Let's look at what Nairobian has today. Now, Nairobian, grim scenes, blood, glass, and nightmare. What are we talking about? It is a toxic mix and deep wound. After hours of testimony, digital forensics, and grisly photos, the case narrowed to a haunting uncertainty. In that locked Kidalesho apartment, only Assad and Maxine knew what happened, and only one of them lived to speak. As the prosecution closed its case, the evidence pointed everywhere and nowhere at once, leaving the judge with a chilling paradox. Every trail of blood led back to a moment only the dead and the accused witnessed. That is the story of Maxine Wahome and the gentleman Assad, who passed on after that fight or disagreement in their apartment, Assad Khan, that is. And we have a story on love, party, and tragedy, how Fester's deadly fall is under investigation. That is on page 6 of the same.
Yep.
And top nuptials. Hey, nuptials, yeah. When wealth and power tie the knot.
Wow.
Wealth and power tie the knot.
Can you imagine? Those are the two getting married.
Yo. 10 cheeky tricks Kenyans use to dodge matatu fare. 1, pretends to be deeply asleep. Well, Allah do talipa fare. But you're pretending.
Yeah.
Claims the phone is off. Simu yangu imezima. Na pesa iko kwa M-Pesa. Wongo. Insists family that he has already paid. Nimelipa. Yeah, nimelipa. Hata uko na change yangu. It is you who owes me. Claims they have passed destination. Umenipitisha.
These are things people say. Oh my God.
You gotta love Kenyans, man, you know. And then we have changes sitting positions. So the conductor has left the 3 seats in front, so you change and go sit where he's already collected the fare.
Yeah.
Creates a fake emergency. Aki ya Mungu naumwa na tumbo inafaa niende choo.
It's like you've had these things before.
Asks a neighbor to pay for her. Tunilipia alafu nikishuka takurudishia. Fakes a sad story. Aki ya Mungu. Niko na matanga. Pesa yote yenye niko nayo ni ya mchango. Jumping off during traffic jam. When the makanga zishuka ni kidogo tu, get out and go. Atakutoa wapi?
Oh my God.
Gotta love Kenyans, yeah? Man accuses MP Kibagendi of assaulting him of a girlfriend. Oh, you remember the images that we saw?
That was some crazy assaulting, my God. When you say stepping on necks. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Literally. Kisii MP Anthony Kibagendi allegedly assaulted a man over a suspected affair captured on viral CCTV. Investigations continue as police compile the case for court proceedings. That will be interesting to see how the MP would get out of that because it was recorded. But then again, remember, you have to prove that footage in court.
Yeah.
We know those things, the way they happen. Hii ni imeeditiwa ni Photoshop. Man in court for threatening to kill wife and breaking her leg. Hey,
wow.
Yeah, one thing we say, kama imekuwa ngumu, just walk out.
Leave it.
Just leave, go. It's never that serious. Mason in trouble for trafficking, defiling teen reportedly expectant. A 25-year-old man has been arrested over allegations of sexually exploiting a 14-year-old girl and transporting her without consent.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, those are some of the stories that we have today on the Nairobian. And Malava, bull slaughtered to protect new MP. Bull slaughtered to protect. Okay.
Meaning?
For the Abashu clan, no leader begins their journey without the symbolic spilling of a bull's blood at the threshold of their home. As drums throbbed and elations pierced the air in Malava in the afternoon of November 28th, hundreds of excited residents trooped into the homestead of MP-elect David Ndakwa for his homecoming ceremony. So it is cultural belief that before you start the journey of being a leader of the community in that clan, a bull has to die, blood has to be spilled.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want to look at this story of the church as well.
Yep.
Because it's a big one, but also this is on page 2. I mean, but I want to look at this one of this deal that was inked in the U.S. A high-stakes bilateral health cooperation framework between Kenya and the U.S., originally slated for signing in mid-November, was postponed over deep disagreements on health data ownership, real-time surveillance obligations, and national sovereignty. This story is done by Mercy Kahenda. President William Ruto yesterday signed the deal, even as civil society legal experts and public health advocates are warning that the MOU risks turning Kenya's health information systems into a 25-year American asset. I don't see that it's anything different from that. The agreement aims to advance the universal health coverage ambitions through collaboration in 6 key areas: disease surveillance and outbreak response, laboratory system strengthening, commodity supply chains, health data systems, technical assistance, and sustained funding. Yet the most contentious clauses revolve around 2 issues: an appended 25-year data sharing agreement and mandatory rapid notification, plus coordination with the U.S. during infectious disease outbreaks. On the there's a lot more to this story, but on the face of it, one would think, okay, this makes sense, because you want to know the health makeup of a certain country, and of course, this is not just Kenya. They're trying to glean this information, harvest this information from many other countries as well. And then also, you want to know about when there are health risks in terms of a disease outbreaks. What can we then do to put something in a lab and come up with medication? On the face of it, it looks good. But when you have a nation's most intricate data, you have power over that nation.
True.
I don't care how you look at it, whether it's health, whether it's education, it is data, it's important to that particular country. When you have given over that information, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it is your name and your blood group. I don't care. But your very information in the hands of another nation, my goodness, wars have been fought over this kind of thing.
Yes.
That wars have killed hundreds of thousands of people because one nation state has information over another. So in this day and age, are we blindly just giving over this information? And why so many questions are coming into play here. What does it actually mean when you're handing over? And who's giving you permission to hand it over?
Yes.
The Kenyans whose health data is going to be in the hands of the Americans, do they know that the health data is going to be there?
Is the Data Protection Agency part of this conversation?
Exactly.
Has this passed through the National Assembly to give the president the powers to hand this over? Has there been public participation for Kenyans to agree that their data be shared? And even as we talk about disease surveillance and everything, one would ask the question, can Kenya do everything else? Have we tried doing everything that we are ceding our power to the United States and we have failed? Or are we just going for the low-hanging fruit simply because we have been cornered?
It looks as though everything that you do is coming up in castigation of government. But then they go and do things like this.
Yeah.
Even when you want to give somebody an opportunity for the benefit of the doubt, you do something like this. Because even if people don't understand it, okay, let's assume that we don't understand anything and we're just sitting here making noise. If you were to explain to a 6-year-old child today and say, oh, by the way, one country is going to give you money to sort out the things that you want. Remember yesterday we had an HIV/AIDS conversation here?
Yes.
And we're looking for money for ARVs. So one country comes and says, you know what? I'll give you money. So, but what you're going to do is give me critical and vital information for 25 years. Even a 6-year-old child who is still doing basic algebra will ask and say, hang on, why though? What does it mean?
Yeah.
Whose information is being given and for what purpose? You have to ask.
You remember when you were having the conversation with Muko Munene here yesterday, and she said, Kenya has the capability of producing its own medicine and drugs. If we only invested into research and development, we are able to produce everything that you're going outside this country to search and look for. This is what India has done. India looked at how it would take care of its sick, and they decided to start biggest pharmaceutical companies to be able to take care of their sick.
India vaccinated people with their own COVID
with their
vaccine.
own COVID vaccine.
Yeah, they didn't buy from anybody.
Exactly. Are we able to do that? We have KEMRI here. We have CDC in Kenya. What are these groups doing to ensure that they are able to take care of the sick? This data is domiciled in the country. What are we doing with this data? If someone else is seeing the importance of this data to use it to make decisions in terms of surveillance, to know and to deal with outbreaks, what are we doing with this data ourselves? What are we doing with it? Or are we using this data to cash in?
You have to ask. But this one, that in this day and age, when we're talking about sovereignty on a global scale, that has desperation for funds to get things done that people are putting pressure on you to do, which you should have done anyway if you're really looking towards development. Has that desperation now led you to do things that are going to take us years back? That you're still handing... Which country has America handed over the data of its people to?
Yes.
Which country has America said, okay, you know what, in quid pro quo, let me give you this, and it concerns the data of Americans, alive ones. Which country have they handed that over to?
You know, yesterday I was watching something that is critical and really related, but this is based off weapons. So there is an American-made bomb that landed that landed in one of the Middle East countries, and now America is threatening that country to have it return that bomb because that bomb never detonated. You know why? Because that bomb has information, and they fear that reverse engineering would see that country start producing that same bomb. You know what is inside that bomb? It is data.
It's data.
It is data. They are doing everything to protect that data. That's just on bomb. Now tell me more about data of people. We're talking about 55 million Kenyans' data that has just been handed over to Americans. Why?
Or that is going to be handed over.
Why?
Why? I'm asking why. Those are the things that don't come out here. And there they are. You were looking for Musalia Mudavadi. Well, it's there, signing. He's witnessing the sign. President William Ruto witnessed the signing of the Kenya-U.S. Health Cooperation Framework. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi in Washington, D.C. yesterday. So that's been done. It's inked, guys. So now that we're asking the question, it's done.
It's done. It's been inked.
We don't know which Kenyans these are that your information then will... And this is not just Kenya. There will be many more African nations that will hand over their sovereignty in the blood to America for however long, for them to do with as they want, in the name of health exploration and discovery.
Can't we explore our health and discover it in the continent? Have African governments... I mean, you know, we just spoke about AU. Everyone would even ask, what is the AU policy in terms of taking care of its sick in the continent? And if it does not exist, then what are African leaders doing? Or are we just pawns?
The swap here was money for your birthright. I'm telling you, that's what it is. We can couch it and we can talk about grand hotels and diplomacy and filibustering and all of that from one diplomat to the next. We can talk about state relations and all of this, but this is soft power playing itself out. Not the way it did in World War I or World War II, where we saw the guns and tanks that were stamping the authority in terms of geopolitics on a global scale. That's not what we're seeing now. We're seeing soft power. All right, Dennis, you need a favor? Let me scratch your back just a little bit. But you know what you're going to do? You're going to give me something that I could use in the future. Where did you see that in this deal, America is saying, okay, we'll also give you the data. For our Americans? I'm still asking that question today. Which country
has US data?
The way Senator, what is his name? Cotton. Senator Cotton, who will come here just behaving anyhow. You tell me if, for example, Senator who? Give me one senator.
Let's
in Kenya.
Yeah.
Any senator here, you tell me that they can go to Washington, D.C. and suggest to Washington that this is how we feel that you should do your governance. Come on. Is there really a respect of state sovereignty? But do I even blame them?
No.
Because here we are going and giving the thing to them. Can you blame anybody? Yeah. People treat you the way you allow them.
The way you allow them.
Yeah.
The way you allow them.
Go.
You know? So... I don't know.
We have such a long way to go. My God in heaven. Please give us another
You know,
story.
here is I just read here that it is routing sensitive So he points out that the existing continental and global mechanisms already exist. Kenya reports to the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, and World Health Organization under the international health regulations. Now, routing sensitive genomic intelligence fast or exclusively to Washington bypasses these multilateral frameworks and risks commercial exploitation. Have you ever heard of chemical warfare?
Yes.
That point
Anthrax, those things.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's exactly what we should be worried about. That's exactly why we should protect our data. Because if someone understands your genome and understands how they can manipulate it to deal with you, it is easy to do that. You know, but what are we doing about it? How are we protecting our data? There's a reason why in Kenya we have a data protection agency. There's a reason why today insurance firms cannot share your data with another insurance firm.
No, they can't.
They can't. A doctor cannot share your data with another doctor. But here we are. We've signed our birthright just because we need some moolah.
Ask me if those billions of dollars are going to actually go towards this
Healthcare.
thing that we're talking about.
So, Kenyan police in Haiti search for Kabiru's body. The family of Benedict Kabiru, the Kenyan police officer who was killed in Haiti, might not bury their loved one anytime soon. This is because there is no evidence of his body. The officer died in a gang ambush in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, on March 25, 2025. Initially, the National Police Service dismissed reports of his death, maintaining that Kabiru was only missing. It is now emerging that Kenyan police officers deployed in the Caribbean country have been searching for his body, while Kabiru's family back home anxiously wait for it. The gangs are believed to have taken custody of Kabiru's body. It is, however, not clear whether they eventually disposed of it or if the criminals have preserved it. We will not rest until we get the body of our officer. We will get it whether buried or not, said a senior officer, adding a new twist to the matter which has not been clear from day one. Initially, Kabiru had been classified by NPS as missing in action, but President William Ruto contradicted this position when he declared Kabiru dead. I must use this occasion to honor the Kenyan officers Samuel Tunoi, Benedict Kabiru, and Kennedy Nzuve, who lost their lives in line of duty. That is President William Ruto's statement during United Nations General Assembly in New York. Immediately, NPS, which for close to 6 months had insisted the officer was alive, issued a statement echoing the president's position. You see, here is a case where the NPS denied that the officer was alive.
Yeah.
You know, President William Ruto announced to the family while in Geneva at UNGA that the officer had died.
Yeah. They're still looking for him. This is interesting.
They're still looking for him today.
Yeah.
And if the Kenya police officers who've been deployed there together with working together with Haitian officers are unable to find this body, then what happens to the family?
I don't.
You know, and what is the status as well of peace in Haiti? Remember, I think there is a new mission that was agreed upon that would enter into Haiti.
Yep.
Where are we with that? When will our officers come back home?
When will they come home? But then you know what? I was thinking about this because I'm writing about this particular conflicts in my project.
Your project, yeah.
And the truth of the matter is that you see these wars that we can continue to spring up. There are wars that happen and then they die off.
Yeah.
But you see these wars that continue to occur, these conflicts that don't end until we deal with the root issue of those conflicts. We will not be able to get away from it. Maybe we'll say America's on my agenda today. Fine, it is. But the truth of the matter is that until that interference by the United States of America in Haiti and France in Haiti is dealt with, until that interference is dealt with, until those issues of sovereignty are dealt with in Haiti, this conflict will not end. If you like, take Kenyan forces. Tomorrow, take Nigeria. Today, the day after, take South Africa. Go and spill your agenda across the nations of the world and tell them to come and help you solve issues in Haiti, it is not going to end until you sort out the issues. Haiti, one of the most wealthiest nations on the planet, was stripped of that by the United States and France. It's the truth. It's in history. And the people of the country said, no more. Now you want to come and control because you want to have a control of the resources. That's the truth. Until we deal with those issues, it's not going to stop. Until we deal with the issues that are happening in Sudan, it's not going to stop. Until we deal with the resource issues in DR Congo, those things will not end. So we can be here, we can go to Unga, we can shout, we can go and say, hey, you come and enter. No, deal with the issues. Let nations reclaim their sovereignty. That's when we're going to see that there will be a calm. But are there powers who are vested in making sure that conflicts remain? Absolutely.
Yes.
And until we deal with it, we'll continue having these conflicts. It's Truth Friday. Let's go.
Let's go. You see, when you talk about these conflicts, Ndu, like you've rightfully said, yes, we must deal with the problem. But you remember that we again are looking at the source of the problem to give us the solution, which will not happen. You know, so you look at the war in Haiti, resources. Look at the Congo, resources. You look at Kenya, the biggest resource now, it is the data that we are dealing with. You know, we're talking about even the resources that we have in the mining sector, and it is the multinationals that want to come control it. Until that time when we find that solution, I'm sorry, but we will never move.
Nope.
You know, we will never move. And it's about time that leaders of this world, that the citizens of this world, had these difficult conversations. You know, why is Haiti where it is? What are we doing to ensure that reparations, that justice is given to them? You know, but who are we talking about? Some of the biggest, wealthiest nations are the ones, again, who are saying we will send our troops to go pacify and bring peace.
It's not peace.
Okay.
Peace means what? You know what peace means? Peace means that you have peace, according to how some nations have described it, is that we have adequate control over you. And so that means peace. Look at what has happened. Look at what's going on between Israel and Palestine, Gaza specifically. Look at the supposed peace that the U.S. was going to bring about when they said there are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And then they killed Saddam Hussein. And then now look at what is... there's authoritarianism and there's totalitarianism. We deal with that. But George W. Bush stood up and said, there are weapons of mass destruction. Where are they?
They never found them.
They supposedly put peace in Iraq. That's where it is. Look at Afghanistan. They supposedly put peace in Afghanistan.
Libya.
Look at it today. They supposedly put peace in Libya. Libya was thriving as a model country of what it could actually be when you have a developed country. Look at Libya today when there's supposed peace. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Let's be real.
Let's be real.
This is where we are. Somebody else who was being pretty real yesterday was the NCCK. From their point of view, I don't think we've ever seen something so loud. We keep asking people to be loud, and I guess here we are, so we should not be shocked. They've said Ruto is toying with youth future, and it's time to reclaim it, is what they said. President William Ruto's administration has come again under strong condemnation from the church, which have again accused the regime of failing to provide proper governance, accountability, and mistreating the youth. They also blamed Parliament for many of the ills bedeviling the country, arguing that it had failed in its oversight of the executive and in the fight against corruption. So they were in Remuru yesterday, and they said very many things. But one thing they said your time is coming, man. And they basically told Kenyans, this is the person who has made things worse. Get rid of him. It's not me. They said it here in the thing.
You know, the more things change, the more they remain the same. You know, I've seen the clergy here and the same people who gave this man the support, that they have turned 180 degrees, you know, and are now speaking these like they are. Begs the question, just where are we and what responsibility do they take for being part and parcel of putting the man in? Do they take responsibility? Have they spoken to their followers about that we are sorry? Have they apologized? We are actually part of the problem then, you know? But that notwithstanding then, it is interesting because from this then, let's see how congregations will react to these statements. And if at all the same clergy, every Sunday, we will see a change when politicians appear in their spaces. Will they say no? Stop bringing politics here? Because if they do not, then this is just another talk. They're not walking.
Absolutely.
Mimi nasema tu.
It's true.
Yeah.
You can just be yapping.
You can't just be yapping, but if we don't see that change from you, then you're just talking. You're not doing anything about it.
Are we going to get to the place whereby the talk can actually, become something? Something has got to give to the point where people are going to be able to call you out on your BS and say, you know what, this is great, but let's now walk the talk, just like you're saying.
Yeah.
It can't be business as usual anymore. The place people have gotten to where they're woke and living in an existence where they realize that you're not going to allow just anything slide under the carpet. Is that you can't just come and say anything you like and disappear.
You see, if you go to hospital and you go through tests and you found that you have malaria, the next thing is you need to start to take medication, right? So if you've already been given the talk that you have malaria and you don't take medication, you're not doing anything. So lazima umeze tembe ndio upone. We can pray for you, yes. But that prayer will come with hope that there is healing.
It's very true.
But at the end of the day, lazima pia umeze tembe. So tuanze kumeza tembe kwa kanisa.
Okay, sawa. Hapo ndio
tumeze tu hiyo tembe.
Sawa basi. Okay. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to come back and we're going to have a conversation about trials. We're going to be talking with an oncologist and a human trial entrant. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's a Healthy Friday conversation that you want to hear and be part of. Let's do it. It's 7. Good morning.
The latest news from around. This is The Situation Room, the only